All right, happy Thanksgiving. And for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Generations Shattered Glass Collection Goldbug. Yeah, this is a pretty slick figure. It's, the same mold that we've seen, gosh, like a billion times by now. It was used for Cliff Jumper, Bumblebee, Bug Bite, Bumblebee again, and now Shattered Glass Goldbug. But it's a nice mold, and it is appropriate to see this one using the same mold as Bumblebee, although not the exact same mold as like the Netflix Bumblebee with the VW bug. But Shattered Glass Goldbug didn't really have that kind of car anyway, so it's a nice homage either way. I believe the original Shattered Glass Goldbug used the Hot Shot mold from Cybertron, and this car doesn't like really look like that car at all, but they've used the same color scheme here, so I guess good enough. But yeah, he looks pretty slick in his car mode here. I love all this gold detailing picked out. The one weird thing is like it's got like the clear plastic windshield here, and then it's got a painted blue plastic for the back windshield here, and it doesn't really match, but whatever. It still pops nicely, like as a color scheme. It's just a little strange considering these are notionally both supposed to be windows, but otherwise looks pretty good. He, of course, like every other version of this mold, comes with the same weapon that really still was meant for Cliff Jumper more, but whatever. They've decided to paint the front end blue here to give it a slightly different look for Goldbug, and you can store it the same way as you can with every other use of this mold, where you just peg it onto the top here, and it looks ridiculous and dumb, and I don't like it, but whatever, you can do that. And of course, you can still take it apart and do the ski mode thing, where you unfold this piece, take these two tiny little pegs and plug them into these bits, and then this peg into that hole right there, just like that, which can be kind of a pain sometimes to get in there. Take the little skis, plug them in under the front wheels, and then take these weapons. You can plug them on either way, like this or like this. I think they're supposed to be this way, so they're like, jet boosters or whatever. And yeah, you can, had it backwards there. You can recreate that famous scene from that one episode of the G1 cartoon where Cliff Jumper did this. Cool. Cliff Jumper's ability for Shattered Glass Goldbug. Still, whatever. I really wish at some point they had invested in making like an alternative weapon set so they could at least switch it up, because like really it was only super appropriate the first time, and then every other time they've done this since then it's just like kind of tagged along with the figure. Whatever. It's still cool, but none of the stuff really has any ability to store otherwise. So, not really for me. I'm just gonna put these weapons aside and just leave them in a box somewhere, but that still has the option if you want to do it. The other thing worth mentioning is because the front end of one of the guns is blue, it's a little bit asymmetrical, which is a little weird, but whatever. Either way, I haven't really been a huge fan of that weapon as anything other than for Cliff Jumper, and even with Cliff Jumper, it didn't really store, so like, but it's nice to have, I guess, more of those accessories to toss in the box and have a little weapons display. But either way, there he is. Here we have, for a standard size comparison, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe. Obviously still a pretty small deluxe here. Here he is with Netflix Bumblebee and Generation Select's Bug Bite, just so you can see some other uses of this mold. Obviously, he's using the exact same mold aside from the robot mode head here as Bug Bite, but he's really the alternate version of Bumblebee, so whatever. But they look good together. And then here he is with the other Shattered Glass Autobots that we've gotten so far: Ratchet, Optimus, and Blur. So, nice little team building up there. And then here he is with Shattered Glass Megatron, just to show them off together. So yeah, that's all the ones of the Shattered Glass collection that we've gotten so far. Here he is with his Shattered Glass comic, which again does the same nice cover thing where all the shards of the Shattered Glass and then also the Autobot symbol are in that slightly more reflective paper. So when you move it around, it kind of shimmers in the light. Still, I think blurs is still my favorite because it had the most of that effect going on, but you know, it's still a welcome addition to this cover and looks nice. But yeah, other than that, you know, it's the exact same transformation that we've seen a billion times by now. It's the same parts former thing where you start off by taking off this section here. We'll put that to the side for now. Then you want to kind of pull up the windshield here, and then kind of just loosen these sides up a little bit, which then makes it easier to untab the legs and bring them forward like that. Flip the wheels underneath, take this whole side panel of the car, and flip it down, and then flip this door panel into the wheel well. It kind of pegs into one of these little gaps in the wheel there, which is still pretty cool. And then just do that on both sides. Then you want to take this whole section that the arms are on, fold it out to the side, just part of the way for now, so you can flip the rest of the body up like that. Take his little hood section here, rotate it in, rotate the windows down. Well, actually, before that, you want to bring these the rest of the way up, and then bring the windshield up. You can kind of do it in either order, but it's notionally supposed to sort of tab into place there. So yeah, you're supposed to do that first, but then rotate them around at the waist, and then just bring the arms down, and there you have Goldbug in his robot mode. And then obviously with this section, if you want, you can have him hold it as a shield, which looks, you know, okay. I find that it looks a little bit better on this version of the mold than with the Bumblebee Volkswagen version, just because it's a little bit more nondescript end of a car, whereas this being used as a shield is very clearly part of a Volkswagen. But either way, I still feel like the best place for it is just pegged into the back to just become part of the backpack, which, you know, means it is a little bit of parts forming, but it still works pretty well. And he's got a nice new head sculpt here. I love the Goldbug head sculpt there. I'm kind of wondering if eventually they're going to release like a non-shattered glass Goldbug version of this toy with like more of a fully gold color scheme. I don't know. I don't know if I'd get it if they did, because like I have already got enough of this mold, but sort of curious as to whether or not they do that. Of course, articulation is the same as it is every other time. The head is on a ball joint, so it can kind of rotate, wiggle a little bit. The shoulders are on swivels here, and they can also rotate out to the side. Got a bicep swivel, 90 degrees of bend at the elbow, wrist swivel, which is nice. Waist swivel, because of transformation, he can kind of tilt his back a little bit, kind of arch his back. That can be useful for some poses. Then universal joints at the hips, so I can go forward, back, out to the side. Got a thigh swivel there. 90 degrees of bend at the knee, and a pretty good amount of ankle tilt. So, you know, still pretty much as posable as every other version of this mold. Still, the only thing that I really wish that it had in terms of like posability was some sort of front and back ankle tilt, just because he's got such big feet that would really help a lot in terms of like the expressiveness in pose, and you can't really like tilt his foot back and then have it still staying flat on the ground. The other thing that I notice about this guy, like most of the joints feel pretty good, but the connection between the backpack, like that feels a little bit loose. Like this peg is a little bit looser than on past versions, and the connection between the peg and the hole is not as tight. So I find that when I'm messing around with him, it kind of gets bumped out of the way a lot easier than usual. Not the end of the world, and it's not like it like falls out or anything, but still worth mentioning. You can, of course, give him his weapons to hold, either by just giving him the two the two bits here, and then you can use like the little skis as sort of like ammo clips in the side. Again, just like every other version of this mold, and they want you to just like, I don't know, peg this onto the side or something. I'm not sure what you're supposed to do with this piece when you're not using the full long missile launcher mode. But of course, you can plug them all together to do that extended missile launcher. Like again, like the one time that Cliff Jumper used in the G1 cartoon. But at least, you know, with Shattered Glass Goldbug, he's kind of a, you know, tough guy too, I guess. So it makes more sense for him to have this, and at least it does fit nicely with his color scheme. But again, really, I don't know. It doesn't really store super well in either mode, so I just leave it off to the side. I've got like a whole box of just these basically, but you know, you can do that. Here he is again with the Netflix Bumblebee and Bug Bite, just so you can see him with a couple other uses of this mold. Here he is again with Kingdom Sideswipe, just for that standard size comparison. Let's bring on Blur and Optimus and Ratchet for the Shattered Glass Autobots so far. Nice little team there. And then we'll show them off with the one and only Shattered Glass Decepticon so far. We really need more Decepticons to actually have a fair fight here, but that's what they look like together. So yeah, pretty standard figure overall. Again, if you've had any version of this mold, it's pretty much exactly the same, but it does have a pretty nice paint job. I like the new head sculpt. I think it looks really great. I love all the gold detailing, especially in car mode. I think it pops really super well, and it feels just about as good as every other use of this mold. The only one thing that feels a little bit too loose is the backpack, and that's not too big a deal. Really, Blur is the only one so far of the Shattered Glass collection that's felt like he really has some parts that are significantly looser, which is good. I mean, it's not good that Blur has that, but it's good that they don't all have that. So looking good for the future. I definitely hope that they do a second wave of Shattered Glass guys. And, considering how well these guys have been selling, I guess that they probably are going to. But it would be nice to see a few more Decepticons in the second wave, just because I think we've got enough Autobots now to get the point across, at least, until we can even out the ranks a little bit. But either way, he's a pretty nice figure. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Without further ado, here we have Transformers Generations Shattered Glass Collection Goldbug.